Welcome. It is Thursday, May 7th. I'm glad you're here today with us. We've got a lot. We have got so much packed into this 1 hour. Wow. First of all, let me tell you, I came over the cable bridge today. What a beautiful view.
Mixing things up.
Yeah, I am. I really thought there was an excellent article on the front page of the Tri-City Herald today. And you can check that out and you can learn more information. All right, let's talk now to Chuck Freeman. And we're talking Drought 2015. That's what I call it, Chuck. He is the KID, Kennewick Irrigation District Manager. So, Chuck, first of all, I want you to tell us, what are the conditions that make you predict drought this summer? I mean, why? How do we know?
Well, because the governor declared it, simple answer, but the Bureau of Reclamation runs a Yakima project, and we're the Kennewick division of that, and due to low snowfall this winter up in the Cascades, where our watershed is, there wasn't what is referred to as a sixth reservoir, and that's the snowpack, and typically the melt-off of the snowpack gives us the water in July and August.
So here in the desert, we are completely dependent upon snowfall in the Cascades?
In the Cascades, we are a Yakima project, not the Columbia. A lot of people confuse that. So we are dependent on snowfall. There's not enough storage. There are 5 reservoirs up there, but they are not large enough to supply the whole area, the entire basin.
So who's going to be affected most by this, by a drought?
Well, KID is different because we're a return flow district. So, yesterday's paper, I believe, Rosa Irrigation District, they are shutting down next Monday for 20 days. And then Kittitas Reclamation District up by Ellensburg, they start late and they're going to shut down early. Those folks are more directly impacted because they pull right off the reservoirs, where KID has the benefit of using water that has been used by other irrigators. And so we have return flows, we have seepage, and so with us, every drought is different. And so the impact in 2005, where Rosa was reduced to about 38% or so, KID was able to deliver 68% because of the return flows.
Well, the bottom line for a lot of your customers were residential customers in the Tri-Cities area, not just for KID, but for all of the irrigation districts here. So, we all want to know what's going to happen. What should we be doing about watering our lawn and our trees and our shrubs? Let's get right to that.
That is a great question. We have a lot of information out. We have purchased airtime on TV and radio to a very simple message that if you are a homeowner served by the Kennewick Irrigation District, we are at this time requesting that you only water twice a week, 30 minutes for each zone, and that's it. We have an opportunity now, before the drought does impact Kennewick, to train your lawn to get the roots deep, because the goal through the drought is not to have a lush green lawn, but to have a lawn that's alive. It may be somewhat brown, but you want to keep your shrubs and your trees alive, and you want to do the deep irrigation so the roots go deep to find the water.
Oh, okay. That's a good strategy. Do you anticipate anything coming up this summer where I'm going to tattle on my neighbors, or what?
Well, that's already started. There was actually a letter to the editor yesterday from a citizen turning in the city of Kennewick for overwatering their park. So,
yeah, I read that.
So I took the opportunity to send the Parks Department our flyer. We have a brochure that we had professionally made, and it's just the simple message: twice a week.
Twice a week, simple message. Okay, I like that. I like that simple message. Chuck Freeman with the Kennewick Irrigation District. You know what? We're going to come back. We've got a lot more questions. And I want to know how much worse it could get this summer. That's what I want to know. We'll be right back. You're listening to News Talk 870. Chuck Freeman is my guest today. We're talking about Drought 2015. Chuck, I bet you feel like you're in the hot seat a lot these days.
It tends to feel that way some days.
Yeah. And through no fault of your own. I mean, it's Mother Nature, really. So what we've learned so far is what we want to do right now is train our lawn and our plants to put the roots deep. So only watering twice a week. What do you think's going to, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but what's going to happen the rest of the summer? What do you think?
Well, I think as the summer drags on, it's going to get worse. You know, one thing that the Bureau modelers, we met on Monday, you know, we're in uncharted territory. That previous droughts were different conditions. Here we started the season with full reservoirs, but no snowpack, and precipitation was, you know, average mostly. It was just a different type of precipitation with no snow. And so we're in uncharted territory, but the message coming from the Bureau and the NOAA forecasters it is going to get worse.
So the water's gone. I mean, it's whatever is saved right now is all we have in the reservoirs. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
And we hope for you know, the storms to come through and rain a lot in the mountains.
Yeah. So what about the future in terms of water storage altogether? I mean, to guard against this in the future, do we need more storage? I mean, what would your recommendation be?
Well, the Yakima project has been working on for a number of years with the state and federal agencies on what's called the integrated plan, the Yakima Basin integrated plan, and that is a lot of storage projects, a new reservoir, but you know, we're talking the build out is, you know, 30 to 40 years. The low number on the price tag is $4 billion. And so then you have the challenges that the state and federal government has on budgets, and you know, how are you going to pay for that? And so what we're doing at KID is, you know, what can we do right now to have greatest impact today, next year, next couple of years, and then, you know, midterm, and then long term, of course, the integrated plan. We have this beautiful river flowing by us, you know, the Columbia River, that we can't get to because they're not issuing new water rights unless you replace the bucket you take with a bucket somewhere else.
Oh.
And so that's really challenging, very expensive.
So, you know, droughts are not unheard of. We typically have had droughts like every 10 years, and then it was down to every 4 years. Aren't we in a cycle right now where it's about every 2 years? I mean, the cycle, they've narrowed, haven't they?
Well, no, the last drought was '05. We started to
Okay.
have one in 2010, but we got a lot of snow
Okay.
in May, and we pulled out of it. And so we've been really lucky. This year, yeah, I don't think we're going to be so lucky.
Mm. So I want to know, I told you during the break that I've already paid my entire assessment for KID, but I was kind of thinking I was going to hold off and that you would give me a break because I wouldn't be taking as much water as I normally would. Are we still going to have to pay our full amount?
You are similar to us not calling the fire department or police department, but still having to pay our taxes. KID assesses. We're not a public utility. And so what your assessment pays for is 64 miles of canal, 300 to 400 miles of pipe in that range, a lot of infrastructure that, whether there's a full canal or not, actually the costs go up during a drought, our operational costs, because it just takes more manpower. We do have some automation, but you know, irrigation technology, I mean, it's thousands of years old. I mean, it works, but you know, it takes a lot of manpower to make it work. So, you know, you're paying for the big hydro pumps that are as large as a garage to pump the water a mile under the Yakima River to our main headworks. You got to pay for that whether they're spinning or not. And so there's, you know, nothing is metered. We measure in a lot of locations, predominantly ag. In some urban areas, we do meter, but we do measure. But the metering, you know, because we get that question a lot, it's just very expensive. You're talking, you know, minimum, you know, $300-400 a meter or a turnout.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
we have 23,249 accounts. That's a lot of money.
That is. If you've got a question or a comment for Chuck Freeman with KID, our phone number here, 509-547-8726. During a drought like this, will there be any effect on KID equipment?
Well, it'll probably be, you know, operating a lot more. You know, we do have a fleet of trucks, a lot of employees, but we have to scramble more. And so wear and tear on the vehicles, wear and tear on our manpower, on our employees is going to go up. And lower water, that means the concentration of sedimentation can be higher, and so that more wear in the pumps and turnouts plugging up because of the sediment. We've already seen some of that.
You know, we haven't talked at all about agriculture because, you know, there's such a big topic to begin with, drought. I really wanted to focus on residential. But what is this going to mean for agriculture? I mean, that is just such an important base of our economy here.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, Kennewick Division was built for ag. The government, federal government, would have never constructed this for urban. And we urbanized. The hayfields became subdivisions. The ag customers are different because they have to order water, and there's a policy in place. In order to get water, you got to order it, and they plan and they communicate with us. They're not on demand, mostly. And the urban folks, they're used to wherever they lived before, the water was just always there, not thinking of where it came from, so they don't order. But the ag community, you know, we're in constant contact with, and we communicate with them. We field a lot of calls. I've been taking a lot of calls from our ag customers myself on planning ahead for the year. And so, you know, some our ag folks will be in better shape because they have some storage on farm. Others don't.
Yeah, well, we sure want their roots to be protected.
We have been meeting with HOAs, and we do have information on our website, our Facebook account with the drought, and we've made brochures. We have done media buys. You know, the word's getting out, but it's just, you know, getting people to follow what we're at this point requesting.
You know what? You cannot do enough. I can tell you that right now because, you know, you guys walked in here today. I pay attention to a lot of things in this community, but I don't think that I had heard at all yet about 2 days a week. I mean, I know it probably makes sense, but I didn't hear you telling me from the KID that that's what I should be doing. So go ahead with your message. I mean, really pound it. Get it out there.
Yeah, what I learned today is, you know, maybe we didn't buy enough media.
There you go.
Yeah, because we have purchased airtime on radio and TV with our message, and we will continue to do that through the season. The board approved approximately, to date, about $55,000 for media buys, and so that may go up. We do have a drought fund that we can pull resources from that the board created 3 years ago now. And so we pulled upon those some of those dollars to put in automated control gates. You know, we did a lot of lining in the canals to, you know, protect, you know, public safety from, you know, canal breaches. You know, last year the ground squirrels got us twice, and so that area now is all lined. And the beauty about the liner, and then you put an automated control gate in, is you can run your elevation at a higher level in a section of canal that will be available for the downstream users. So when the urban folks turn on, and they can literally drain a canal, and it impacts the folks down canal 10 miles away, which typically is ag, and so we'll have that shock absorber now, where we didn't have that before.
All right, well, we've got a lot of good information, Chuck Freeman. I really appreciate you coming. Your website is kid.org. That's pretty easy to remember. We expect Chuck and other people from the Kennewick Irrigation District to join us several times throughout the summer. He even brought along 2 other folks who work at KID so that they could kind of see what we were doing here. So we'll be able to talk to a lot of people. Chuck, I really appreciate your time here today. Thanks so much.
Thanks for the invitation. We look forward to, you know, coming back, and, you know, hopefully we get a lot of you know, late May precipitation up in the mountains.
Oh, let's have a rain dance. That's what I think you should do. Oh, I think a whole community street dance. It's a rain dance. Oh, I'm liking that idea. Okay, all right. Thanks, guys. Now, let me tell you what. We're going to switch gears coming back because we're going to be talking about reading and how important that is. You know, some parents say, hey, we just don't have enough time to talk with our kid, you know, read with our kids. I'll tell you why that is really, really not a good thing. That's coming up next on News Talk 870. And don't forget our phone number, 509-547-8726. If you want to talk with us about reading, now's the time to give us a call. We have 2 ladies in our studio today. They're from the Children's Reading Foundation, one from the Reading Foundation of the Mid-Columbia and the other from the National Organization. We are very lucky to have both of these ladies here. Nancy Kerr, National President, retired. When is your last day, actually, Nancy? Is it past?
It was last Friday.
Last Friday, okay. And Sarah Schwann is our local director here for the Mid-Columbia. Ladies, first, I want to give you a little setup to the importance that I see. This is a real, it's a personal issue to me. I think reading is very important. Nancy, you first started this project more than about 20 years ago. My kids were just in school, kindergarten, first grade, or whatever. We had baggy books. You know, they send them home with a Ziploc, and you were supposed to read with your children, and there was a little sheet to fill out, and I would do that, and I would write little stories about how my kids liked the information and what character they thought was the best. I'd write all this little narrative. I'd send it back to school to them. Well, a friend told me later that the parents who were the PTO volunteers, you know, doing these books, that they would sit around and laugh hysterically at my comments. It was not to be for me, the parent. All I had to do was check it and sign it, but they enjoyed my book reports. So the program of the Reading Foundation has always been really important to me. I think it really helped me as a parent at that time to know what I was supposed to be doing. So first, I want to talk about why is reading so important at a young age? Why should we even care? Sarah?
Well, I'll go ahead and start.
Okay.
Children are learning every waking minute from the moment they're born. So it's really important to capitalize on the 90% of brain development that takes place in those first 5 years, and the best way to ensure their future successes and to help them prepare to start school ready is by reading with them every day.
Well, that means me reading to them, because starting school, they don't know how to read, right?
Correct.
Yeah, but Nancy, what if I don't feel confident that I'm a very good reader?
Yes,
Some parents
you know,
don't.
and there are those, excuse me, two components to this, because there's that early brain development that Sarah just referred to, when the brain is literally wiring itself for all future learning. And then there's the actual learning to read that occurs in school, and of course we understand that reading is the skill that's essential to success in all other subjects. So if, as a parent, you don't feel confident reading with your child, a huge component of that is really talking, holding a book, teaching a child that you use books by turning the pages, and that as you turn the pages and look at the pictures for clues, you're going to develop a story. And so the language and vocabulary, the imagination, the curiosity, and the relationship building that comes through is very powerful. So whether or not parents are strong readers, or whoever in the family gets time to snuggle with a kid in a book, also research is fascinating. It doesn't matter what language you read to a child in. The brain literally responds to hearing those sounds within words and learns how to read. So it's almost like magic. It's just a person who loves a child with a book and a kid, just like you did with your girls.
So the mantra is from your organization, 20 minutes a day. Is that what we need to strive for as a village, caregivers, parents, grandparents, all of us?
Yes, most definitely. And that can be broken up into different segments throughout the day. It doesn't need to be start to finish, 20 minutes, but that's a great 5 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at lunch, or all 20 minutes before bed. But we want everyone to strive to be reading those 20 minutes every day.
And so much of that depends on the child's age, as Sarah mentioned it. Obviously, if you've got a baby, you're not going to just sit there and force that child to look at a book for 20 minutes.
Reading the encyclopedia, yeah.
Or a toddler,
Yeah.
will run circles around you before you can get through
Yeah.
one book. So you want to pace it based on your child's temperament and interest, and let the development of the child guide you in how much reading time you have at one sitting. But overall, tucking time with books in throughout the day teaches a child to learn to value reading, and then eventually to love reading. And then that wonderful day in school when the teacher says, "You're going to learn to read this year in school," that's the kid who's on the edge of his seat, like, "I can't wait to read." They've had books in their lives and they value that.
So they can, they've got a head start, that's for sure. It's so easy for us to say, and I know that we use this excuse for almost everything, which is sad, but I don't have enough time to do that. There's just not enough time in the day. I'm just so busy. Really? So I guess I guess you would be saying, well, make it a priority, because it is a priority.
Yeah, we seem to be able to make time for the things that matter most to us.
Yes.
You know, yesterday I had to do some shopping for Mother's Day, and I managed to get around to several stores, and I'll tell you the parking lots were full. And I also managed to watch a TV show. I managed to listen to your program yesterday on talk
Good.
radio.
Thank
You
you.
know, you do the things that
Yes.
are part of what you value in life. And so parenting is not a time-saving activity, as we all know. I mean, you wake up thinking about your kids. It's the last thing on your mind as you fall asleep at night. And that ability to spend a little time each day connecting with them with books, actually developing them intellectually, is a very, very powerful and important and critical piece of good parenting.
Well, what about, you know, there are a lot of people who don't have children. Maybe they never did have children, or their children are already gone from the home. Why should I care about that? Why should I care about children reading? Sarah? Speak to me.
Well, as somebody who does not have any children, for students who do not start school ready to learn, ready to read, it's very difficult to catch up. And so we want to make sure that all children in our community start school ready to learn. And that's, again, by reading with their children every day. But so the students who do not start school prepared end up falling behind, and that can have lifelong consequences that can end up, you know, costing society in different ways.
You know, just yesterday, the day before, I always like to do a little lookup on Google and find out some different information. You know, in the world right now, we are ranked 14th in terms of education, and oh, that's so disappointing. And reading must have something to do with that. So the more that we could get children interested in reading at a younger age, the more that they're going to be lifelong learners, don't you think?
Most definitely.
Oh, absolutely. And the fascinating piece of that statistic is that in the United States, it's mostly males that are struggling readers, and yet in other countries it may be females. So this isn't really a gender issue, it's a cultural issue. And so as we take our children in those preschool years, when we have them in our laps and in our homes and we can schedule time with them and create a love of reading, that goes with them as they move forward into a culture where perhaps sometimes reading isn't cool among their peers, or they're just very busy with sports and music and other outside activities and don't think they can fit that in. And so as a society, we need to continue to elevate reading with children every day and be role models. You know, talk to your kids that you see in your neighborhood, like I'll see children. I'm not raising young children at home right now, but when I see my neighbors' kids, I'll say, hey, what'd you do this weekend? Oh, baseball? Awesome. And what did you read? And then they tell me, and then I'm like, oh yeah, and here's what I read. Make it just a natural part of a healthy lifestyle.
And what about this summer? You know, we often think that vacation is like a vacation for all things academic, and we just don't have to pay any attention. Is that a smart move? Sarah? You guys,
we're
just
looking
jump
at each
in.
other.
Just jump in.
Thanks, Christine.
It's very important to maintain reading as a priority over the summer. Students often experience a summer slide where they actually start school behind from where they ended the previous school year because they have not been reading books. So simply by reading, 6 or 10 books over the summertime, you can really make strides to maintaining what you learned the previous year. There's a number of different events going on throughout the community. I know the libraries put on different summer reading events. We, in partnership with McDonald's, starting on June 16th, are doing at 10 a.m. on the Court Street, the Kennewick Avenue, and the Prosser McDonald's. We are doing reading events, and every child goes home with a free book, and then we also do readings there. So there's, it's a matter of making it a priority, and it should be a priority for parents. And so, you can go to the library and participate in a reading event and then go out to the splash pad. There's different ways to maintain it as a summer activity. But
So you got to build it into your summer plan as a family. And
Sure.
libraries seem like such a great resource in our area. We've got some great libraries.
We sure do. And actually, when you think about it, the days are longer. There's more time to do activities like reading together. I encourage families to, when they go on a picnic or they're traveling somewhere to visit relatives, pack books along, put those in the suitcase, put them in the picnic blanket. Because kids, of course, can be down at the river and playing and swimming and having a ton of fun, but it's fun to take a little downtime and flop on the picnic blanket together and read and cool down a little bit, get out of the sun. It's fun to arrive at a relative's home, and while you're getting to know that person and reconnect, they can read to your children and build that special relationship that happens that way. I think books can be a really natural part of the summer. And I want to emphasize for your listeners, Christine, that what Sarah said about children who are in school have worked so hard the whole school year to build age-appropriate reading skills. And those kids that just stop reading when summer starts, they actually will lose up to 3 months of skill level. So they work so hard and now they're sliding. While other kids who just keep reading for pleasure and have, maybe part of their family tradition is they go to the library every 2 weeks and bring home some different kinds of books the child might not have been reading during the school year. Those kids can actually gain a month. And so we come back to school with this even wider gap between the kids who are strong readers and the kids who aren't. And that's what we call the achievement gap, and it's serious.
That's a good piece of information. All right, we will take a break here. I want to talk about, when we come back, that is, I want to talk about what do families do that might not have access to a lot of reading material. Maybe they don't have books in their home. Where can they get some, and what can they do? We're back in just a moment. This is News Talk 870. We're talking with Nancy and Sarah from the Children's Reading Foundation of the Mid-Columbia. And here's our phone number. It's 509-547-8726. We're focusing today on reading and children. Ladies, where do we go to get books if we don't have any in our home or we don't have enough? What do we do?
Well, you can certainly, we have, as you said earlier, have great libraries in our community.
Yeah.
So always make a point to go. Make it a reward if they're, finish all their chores, and let the reward be that they get to go and check out library books. It'd be certainly a great place to start.
One thing that I've seen families do is to include books as gifts or keepsakes to
yes.
Acknowledge a special event in the child's life, because those become mementos that stay on the shelves, perhaps with a special message written inside, or to ask other people to give them as gifts. Swapping books. So many times one family will have books that their kids have kind of outgrown, and another family could really be valuing from having those, and you'll find them at garage sales and thrift stores for wonderful prices. Not to mention the fact that the Children's Reading Foundation does have books for children that don't have access to books or have never had a book of their own, because part of the research of learning to read is that wonderful feeling of having a book of your very own that you get to keep. And in the Reading Foundation and our work, we've had times when children have enjoyed a book and coming back to give it back to us. And when we tell them they get to keep it, they hug it like it's a treasure. Because they're so thrilled. And so we want kids to not only realize how to access books in the library and at school, but also to start their own little home library.
Their own treasures in their own library. That's
Yeah.
So I know that schools can always use extra help, and I was telling you two during the break that I recently have talked to a couple of mature women like myself who are retired, and they're volunteering in the schools now. So they're readers, or they are being read to by the students. And Sarah, you tell me you're operating that program. What's going on? What do we do?
We have our Team Read program, so it's volunteer based, and I think this year alone there were 5,500 hours put in by volunteers.
Wow.
So I have committed to being a tutor this past year, and so I worked with a student at Eastgate, and twice a week for 30 minutes I work with her on sight words, on decodables, and then I read to her on the book, and then she reads it back to me. And so I'm very sad to see the year end and to get that great thank you card from her. And it's an amazing program, and there's not only are we helping the child learn to read, but we are being a positive, consistent influence in their life. So we are always looking for more volunteers for our Team Read program, and that'll be starting up again in the fall.
It's so nice because you, as a grown-up, man, you're on the front line. You're on the front line of making a difference in someone's life.
Yeah.
So I encourage people to get a hold of you there at the Mid-Columbia Reading Foundation, or Children's Reading Foundation of the Mid-Columbia. All
And
right,
that-
well,
may I make
yes, go
just
ahead,
a comment
yes.
to what Mark called in about too, is the point that at the end of kindergarten, a child will spend about 700 hours at school. Of course, in a classroom with perhaps 30 other children, 20 to 30 children. That same child has had 52,000 hours at home. So for us to assume that teachers are more accountable than parents for assuring that children learn to read at grade level on schedule, this is a partnership. And no one knows or loves or cares more about that children than his or her own family. And we need to honor that and empower that, and that's the mission of the Reading Foundation. Yes, we appreciate and respect what our schools are doing, and they've got great materials and educators, but we all have a role. Parents have a vital role in assuring children read. And we as a community, as you mentioned, who are not raising children right now, we can support children through programs such as the Children's Reading Foundation, because something this simple totally changes the future of that child's life, perhaps for generations. And to be read with and learning to read is such a joy that children literally beg for more. You know, they're having fun, they want to accomplish this, and we can do it for them in very simple, proactive ways.
Well said, Nancy. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for all the contributions to our community about reading. And folks, if you want to put your money where your mouth is, I suggest you make a donation to the Children's Reading Foundation of the Mid-Columbia. Thank you so much, Nancy and Sarah. Hey, we'll be right back. I've got a really fun piece of audio to share with you. You'll want to hear this. Come on back. Welcome back to Meet in the Middle with Christine Brown. And here's what I want to share with you today. What is so funny, I think some of you probably saw it, but on The Price is Right yesterday, the woman named Danielle Perez, she's in a wheelchair, she's also a comedian, but she won as her prize a treadmill, which a lot of people thought was unusual. Well, here's what Jimmy Kimmel did.
Very nice of you.
Yeah.
And you know, it was actually, a lot of people are like, oh my God, what? Well, it was part of a trifecta package. She could have won a spa, I believe, or the treadmill or something else. And it just so happens, the luck of the draw. You know,
It was
wasn't-
random, yeah.
yeah.
But what I love is that Jimmy Kimmel just advanced this whole idea of the importance of wheelchair accessibility with that one little joke and opportunity. So thank you, Jimmy Kimmel. You're doing a good job.
Absolutely.
Here's my just a thought for today. Consciously listen to someone fully. Oh, that is so hard, because you know what we're doing? We're often thinking about our wheels are turning as soon as somebody else is talking, because we're thinking about what are we going to say opposite of what they have just said to me. So try to do that today. Think about, just listen to what somebody else is saying. Got that, John? Listen to me.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
What?
Yeah. Let me tell you about Finally Friday. That is tomorrow, and what we're going to be talking about. We are going to talk about beer, practically for an entire hour. I love that idea. You know, beer is kind of like right behind wine in its creation here in the local area, and particularly in the Northwest, in terms of its contribution to the economy and all. We've got, that's another great reason, in my opinion. This is such a great place to live. We've got 3 guests coming in tomorrow, and they'll be able to talk to us about all that. Hey, had a good time today. So glad that you could be here with us on News Talk 870. I'm Christine Brown. We had a lot of fun. Why don't you join us tomorrow? I'll see you then.